Namaste. My name is Preity Upala, and I am a global thought leader and a multimedia personality. Welcome to my podcast, The Preity Experience. Join me as I explore some of the most fascinating and crucial issues that affect our world today. I take a unique global perspective on these issues, and the very foundation of my insights is humanity and spirituality. I'm Preity Upala, and welcome to the Preity Experience.
The ability to reproduce is in the very definition of life that we learn in our textbooks as real children. But in the real world, oftentimes as adults, we find it awkward to talk about, because talking about reproduction quintessentially means you need to start talking about sex, about sperm, about counts, about vaginas. And this is something we all rather avoid. Strangely so, because the very definition of the ability to continue the human race depends on all these things. In a recent article, in an interview that has been published in USA Today, a researcher has now posited on a report published in 2017 that by 2045, that's just 2 decades from now, sperm counts within the male of this species, the human species, will hit near zero. This is based on a tabulation of a study that has been done over 40 years that has come to a conclusion that in North America, in Europe, in New Zealand, and a couple of other participating countries where over 40 years samples were measured, that means from the 1970s to the early 2010s, sperm counts in males have fallen by 59% already. Progressive data tells you that in another 20 years, it will be near zero. Now, chemicals that we use in soaps and a lot of day-to-day products are being blamed primarily because some of these chemicals do not degrade in the environment, and they simply build up in human bodies and are decimating the human race very, very slowly but surely. So we have to now be adults and have the ability to have this conversation, and more importantly, have the ability in a gone year in which we realize that if we put our minds to it, we can solve problems. Let me open up this conversation. Anand Arya, senior environmentalist, joining us on the broadcast. Preity Upala, editor of The Observer out of California. Dr. Rajiv Sood, he is the dean of PGIMR RML Hospital and chairman of the Indian School of Urology. Dr. Sood, the original reports came out in 2017. Of course, another interview has been done in USA Today. When you find out that in North America, over a 4-decade-long study, sperm counts in males have fallen by 60% nearby, should we treat this as a freak example, a flawed study, or should we be really concerned?
So this is the observation which has been interviewed and has been shared with the media. And one thing is there, this is not a new phenomena. This has been observed, and WHO over the years about the sperm parameters, they are changing their parameters, like compared to earlier parameters of 1980 to 99, and then finally in 2010. Like I'll give you the example, 2 ml of semen was normal, minimum, but now this has been dropped to 1.5 because the parameters are changing. Similarly, 20 million per ml, the sperms which the count was there as the WHO standard parameter, that has now been dropped to 15%. And 40 million total sperm count has been now 39 million is taken as the standard. Similarly, about the motility, and motility 50% was essential. Now 40% is considered normal, and also.
Okay. So hang a second, sir. Because let's assume we're talking to a lay audience, including myself.
Okay.
So what are you suggesting, sir? Are you saying that the standards have become harsher, or the standards have become easier?
They are relaxed because these are the new norms. We are no more getting so many sperms. Their morphology, their shape is changed. It is bad
so
now.
So you're saying the normal has gone down over the past 3 or 4 decades.
Yeah. Normal numbers have gone down. Morphology means that their shape is gone down, and also their motility means the ability to move of the sperms, that has gone down. So WHO is also forced to define new normals. So we are getting our semen parameters affected badly, and over that time we had to define new normal, otherwise everybody will be declared abnormal. So this is all is happening, and the effects have been identified, various that we are discussing today. And as has been mentioned in the article, because of the chemicals or the environmental effects, and
okay,
whatever.
I'm going to come and discuss that with you in a second, sir. So but if the current trends hold, as has been now, a very stark warning has been told to us that within 20 years, that's 2 decades, so that's pretty much, that's within our lifetime, sir. This is not some far off 2,000 years later, 5,000 years later. We're talking about within the lifetime of the majority of the people alive right now. So 650 million Indians are under the age of 35. So we are telling that by the time they're in their 30s and 40s, by the time that they are in parenthood, we could be reaching near zero sperm counts globally, maybe not in Asia, but in many countries. How worrying is that?
So I'll add to that. That is actually worrying, and that is the effect is not only on the sperms or males, it is on the females also and on the fetus also. So on the pregnant ladies, the effect is there. So overall, sperms, you are very absolutely right. If we calculate or if we project according to the decline which is going on, the sperms are going to be very low. Many people are going to be infertile. Even female fertility is dropping 1% every year, and also the effects are there on the fetus of the chemicals which are endocrine disrupting, like male and female hormones are affected equally. So those effects are really alarming.
So these are real things. So why, sir? I mean, reading this interview came as a shock to me this morning that we are predicting, and this is a real thing. You're saying this is very real. This is not a technical anomaly. This is not a sample study problem.
Definitely it is real. When we are talking about pollution, today we are talking about pollution everywhere, and the microplastics, they are also causing it. We are talking about infertility because of these chemicals, microplastics, environmental pollution. But it is not gaining attention. It is good that you have heard about this and you have read about this, and today you are discussing. This is a real danger.
Okay, now this has come out of a research study done by Shayna Swan. She's a reproductive epidemiologist at Mount Sinai in New York. Let me quickly get in Preity. Preity, I'm assuming that you've gone through the interview in USA Today as well. Incidentally, it's pretty brain frying. Now I know that these are, especially in the context of where I am sitting, awkward conversations to have. But here we are. The doctor is telling us this is not a technical error. It's not a statistical anomaly. This is a real thing. It's happening. And hey presto, what do we do?
Well, firstly, namaste, Rishabh, Mr. Gulati. Thank you for having me on your show. Always a pleasure to be here. Yes, indeed. It is not, you didn't read the article incorrectly. This is a very real thing. The effects of toxic chemicals in our environment and workplace have long been known, and especially the toxic effects on female fertility, I think we've known for decades. But now this new research is just showing how it's affecting male fertility too. I mean, I was very shocked when I read this article. It's gradually degrading since 1973, And I mean, from a female perspective, it's very scary because you're like in 20 years time, will women even be able to procreate and have children if the sperm count is down to zero? And I never thought I'd be saying this on national TV. Things like today the sperm count, the sperm quality, the penis length, the testicular volume, all of these things have come down so drastically, and it's almost like past the point of no return. I think this is,
okay, so and for obvious reasons, people would be awkward in discussing penis length and testicular volume and sperm count. But here's an alert that we should be discussing it. This is okay. Heads up for people watching the broadcast. It is epidemiologists who were telling us about coronavirus, right? So here are more epidemiologists telling us that this is a real risk to humanity. Here is the data and statistics that prove it's happening. You don't need a Big Bang event. In 20 years, that's it. No more procreation unless everything happens in test tubes. So Preity, how do we normalize a conversation which is obviously a difficult conversation to have?
Yeah, great point. I think actually the media can do a great job in even showcasing this issue. Had I not read this article, I would have not known that this is actually happening. And although it's a global phenomena, it's a global epidemic, let's say, the West is particularly affected. I think the US of A is particularly affected. I'm sure in Asia, China, India, things are a little different. You have to understand the sort of fast-paced tech sort of world that the West is in, especially here in the States. And the flip side of that is just the amount of toxins. And some of these toxins are, the PFAS. They're like the forever chemicals, right? They're not things that can disintegrate in our body or around us. So
correct.
It's very, very tricky. And we need to get the medical field, the doctors, the FDA to really work with governments.
It's shocking. It's mind-numbingly shocking. Anand Arya, now I don't know how many conversations I've had with you over how many years about the environment, sir. Then they have become seasonal conversations that we'll come in December and go away in January, and the media is to blame, administrators to blame, we're all to blame for that, and we all think that global warming, all these things are far away challenges, right? I mean, they'll come, they'll happen. It's like that frog in a kettle. Here is somebody telling us that hey guys, this has already happened. You had one doctor, and I'm getting Dr. Sampath Shivangi also joining us on the broadcast after this from Mississippi. So it's a real thing. 60% gone. I mean, the doctor just told us the new normals being revised lower because we have to accept it's a real thing. What are these PFSA chemicals that are killing us slowly?
Rishabh, I think with the two doctors and epidemiologists sitting there, I think I won't talk about the science. I'll talk about something which is very practical, and I think I have known it in a way. Though never thought that it has transferred to the human being. I have seen, I'll give you two examples. Let me make one point first, and that is that the total biosphere that we have, the air, the water, the solids, everything is polluted. And I think there are no two opinions that, let's say, the dust, simple thing, like a dust, affects your lungs. Now, there are, what we are talking about, millions of chemicals, millions of, particulate material that is disturbing every organ of our body. Now, two things which I have experienced over the last 20 years is, one is about 15 years old, that we used to have, I know a little bit about the birds. There is a study on songbirds, the birds that give a lot of songs, around, and which are generally known as songbirds. Yes. Now, what happened was that in that study, they did that where the polluted water, which was being partaken by them, or the fruit which was being picked up, or the seeds that were being picked up, which were actually, which were systemically affected by the polluted water. Now, initially, it was found by these scientists that the sound quality went up. Like, you know, on the TV or on the films, you see some beautiful voices. But then actually once we know that the guy is or a girl is a very heavy smoker, and that's why that kind of a voice which is coming in, somehow we love it.
Yeah, so, but I'm not, what is the point you're making, sir?
No, the point I'm making is that if this can happen in the birds, which I have seen happening because of these polluted water, if the birds are dying, you know, initially they are, you know, the voice is becoming very attractive. But then within a short time, so today there is no
so it's affecting the birds.
population
You know,
of
but one thing is the poison
And
that we understand. You know, we understand
yeah.
carcinogens now better.
No,
okay.
and
So we
also I'm
understand
telling you, very
asbestos.
recently, I mean,
Yeah.
it's an experience of last 3 years. 2 years in consecutive, that is 20, I did not go out because of pandemic, but 18 and 19, or, you know, about half a kilometer away, one pond, which is, you know, which is fresh water, which is coming from the canal, and the other pond, which is, you know, it's
Still water,
polluted
yes.
water.
Yes.
Now the Saras crane, which laid eggs, we could, you know, through our binoculars, we could see that the size of the two, the eggs laid by the,
is becoming smaller. So, you know, my question here is that we have become better at understanding carcinogens, right? So we are able to at least have conversations about them. You know, things like asbestos are banned. Okay, just stay with me, sir, because I'm just trying to draw the larger implication out of this. So let me get Dr. Sampath Shivangi into this conversation. Dr. Shivangi, here we are. Like I said, you know, we understand carcinogens. Not to say that we have fixed the problems, but now what do we terminalize this? Because if I tell somebody that we need to cut down on perfluoroalkyl substances, I don't think anybody in the broadcast will understand what I'm saying and what I'm alluding to. What is this all about, and how do we talk about it?
I think basic fact is that, especially in India, you know, we are half educated. Some of the people who think they're going to college, but their basic understanding of environment is very, very important. That way, you know, politically, what is happening in the US, the climate change advocated by the new President Biden makes a lot of sense to India. I think India is the most polluted country next to China. I think that may be the main issue we need to face. Besides the fertilizers, the other gas, environment, industrial gas, who knows?
But you know, but I understand. You know, we have that climate change conversation. We have the carcinogen conversation. Okay, we all know that cigarette smoking is bad for you now. So we know these things. We have not solved the problems, but we know these things. Now, here's a problem, honestly, that I did not know about, that this is a real thing, that this is not an individual thing. There is a civilizational species level decline in fertility. This is not about one place or one country. Species level across continents, there's a decline of 60% fertility. In 20 years, it could be zero if the progression continues. How do we press the panic button?
Again, it's private agencies and governmental cooperation in combating, and industrial, all the industries all over the world, especially in India, they should come together and you know, see how we can reduce the pollution. I think pollution is the biggest problem than anything else, because that will vaporize the oxygen level, the CO2 level, and other hard chemicals in the air would destroy it. They are spermicidal.
Okay, Dr. Shivangi, just stay with me for a second.
Known facts of spermicidal.
Yeah, so let me just stay with me for a second. Let me get Dr. Sood back into the conversation. Dr. Sood, endocrine disrupting chemicals. Some of them are water soluble, not the problem. Others, perfluoroalkyl substances, which are being called forever chemicals. Now, I know, sir, that you know, there are carcinogens in cigarette smoke. I know that it's asbestos. These things are known. What do I do with perfluoroalkyl substances, sir?
See, some are water soluble. You are right that microplastics and all, they are entering that, but you know that there are so many orthophthalates and bisphenols which are there, and they are known substances and these are disrupting the endocrine system, and what is happening right in the pregnant women also they are disrupting. And at the time of conception, what is happening? There is testosterone, that is the male hormone. If that is less, it will affect the testicular volume, the development, and also lengthening of the penis is also related to that. So testicular volume goes down, the interstitial cells and the testosterone forming cells further in the child will go further down.
No, but Dr. Sood, I mean, look at the examples given, okay? Vinyl flooring, wall coverings, medical tubing, medical devices, in toys, in nail polishes, in perfumes, hairsprays, soaps, shampoos.
Upholstery.
No, but the example here is mind-blowing, because they're saying even when you eat food, that food has been produced in a factory. Therefore, it has gone through soft tubing. In the soft tubing, it has picked up these phthalates, okay? And then we're consuming it, and then it concentrates in your system over a period of time, and then it eliminates your ability to reproduce. So this is in the food we are eating. Any packaged food is a problem. So this is literally everywhere.
It is everywhere, and it has become the part of our all the consumables, and also our like even the lining of the food cans also. These chemicals are there, and it is everywhere.
Okay.
Even in the dresses, even children, when our kids are wearing pajamas, in that also it is there. The linings are there. There is so much problem.
But doctor, this is an oh my God kind of problem. You know, one is that things have fallen by 5% or 6%.
I'll tell you that for anything there has to be the educational material or awareness, or there has to be some R&D, or there are NGOs or society movements.
All right. We keep
These
assuming.
Are not there.
Okay.
And recently 2 societies have been working world over, and one is the International.
No, but this is no societies, and WHO can't handle this. I think it'll have to be at the level of climate change and pollution, like Dr. Arya has been telling us.
Model, and
we all have to get involved. Dr. Su, stay with me. Preity, now once we have the oh my God epiphany, okay, because this is not that I don't smoke, so therefore I'm okay, or this is a race thing or a region thing. This is everywhere, affects everyone. I mean, even the flooring in perfumes, in shampoos, in the food that you eat, this is everywhere. So how do we now have a global conversation and take this seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is really the existential crisis of our times, literally existential, because we can't procreate, then we won't be around for much longer, or it'll obviously severely be affected. Yes, the conversation needs to start right now. I think again, media plays a big part. Universities, I think, need to start producing more documentation and work with media companies and governments to make sure that citizens know about this. Like today, global climate change, global warming is such a huge topic that everyone speaks about. 30 years ago, it was new. So we need to bring this issue that we're having with the degrading fertility rates to the same level as global warming, because global warming is outside of ourselves. This is within our body. And it just goes to show that, especially with the West,
but Preity, global warming, at least I know what to do, right? I know we can go electric, and we can have carbon capture, and we can do things. We can, we can. There is a plan of action, and governments are talking about it. I don't see governments talking about it. Now, this is a well-respected researcher at a well-respected hospital, okay, and a well-respected study done over 4 decades. It's not some flippant thing that happened in a couple of weeks, and they slapped in some statistics. Here's a real thing. So how do we begin talking about it? Because I don't know which politician, any part in the world will begin his speech and say, we have to fight for sperm counts.
Well, that might be a great campaign tagline, to be honest. And maybe 2024, that should be the issue that somebody runs on. No, but I think this researcher and that particular university in New York, and others who have done any research on this really need to step it up, bang down the doors of the, US government, different administrations,
okay,
because it all starts from there. and
Okay,
somehow
yeah,
get
so
the
yeah,
FDA
okay, I'm going to
and
reach out.
other
I'm going to reach out to
bodies
Dr. Swan and try to see if I can interview her. Anand Arya, I'm short of time, sir. How do we now, with all your long years of struggle in trying to get people to take environment seriously, here's a reality check. How do we get people to take these things very, very seriously, very, very quickly?
You see, as I've been saying about on various programs with you, I think it is time that first thing, the public knowledge, it should be completely, totally disseminated to such an extent that even a school child, school going child also knows exactly what's happening and what are the threats. And the other thing is that, and I don't know about other countries, and I am sure that those problems are there also, but in our country particularly, I think we have to be extremely, extremely serious about implementing the environment laws, which we are not doing.
Okay, and I think that now we need a conversation that is telling us with products that are clearly labeled whether they are these endocrine affecting chemicals free, perfluoroalkyl free. We need that food labeling. I don't know if we are being told the pajamas the kids are wearing could be rendering them impotent within 20 years. Then what do you do? Dr. Shivangi, how do we now take this up? Because I don't know how to get people who are going to have to solve these problems, companies, people in government, administrators, to start talking about penis length and sperm counts. It's an awkward conversation to have.
No, yeah, actually, the sperm count, it may be something looks obnoxious or abnormal in the present era, but when it becomes an issue worldwide, people will think like having a fresh air or fresh oxygenated air, fresh environment, fresh water. Then why are you not drinking the water from the pond? Because it needs filtration. Same way, the chemicals and everything has to be looked into. The Ministry of Chemicals, Petroleum, and the Fertilizer Ministry and the private industries have to get together and come to some conclusion. Maybe the US can be leader in this and can help.
I'm going to send this conversation and this article to as many people as I can. To people watching this broadcast, we'll pin this article on our social media pages, including the report, as well as this conversation. Spread this around, because, oh my God, I mean, imagine so many people watching the broadcast out there feeling uncomfortable talking about fertility issues, right? Even within families. And now we need to have the conversation at a human scale. So we have to normalize it in a very real sense. Now, we know carcinogens, we know environment, we know the pollutants. There are certain things we know about. We're not doing enough to solve them. But at least we know the problem. Here's a problem, a very real one, which can wipe us out in this generation. And we're not even talking about, it's the scariest thing I've read, far worse than COVID. Thank you all for having this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.